Hi, and welcome to the Top Talent Reviews podcast, episode 2. This evening, we've got a very special gentleman. Could you introduce yourself? Joey Stuckey from Macon, Georgia. It's Macon, Georgia, isn't it, Joey?
That's close enough. We call it Macon with our southern accents, but that's close enough. That's right. Yeah. So it's like Macon to rhyme with bacon. Yeah.
Joey, I'm going to try and feature 3 songs tonight and get some reviews back. Could you tell us who is Joey Stuckey? What type of musician are you? Give us a little story behind you, Joey, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. So it's my part of who I am is just a very silly person. The original meaning of silly, by the way, is blessed, which I think I also am. But so when you come see a show, you get about 30% stories in comedy because I've had a very interesting life, and then you get about 70% music, which I think is good. A big part of who I am, though, comes from what happened to me as a very sick child. So I had a brain tumor when I was about 18 months old. By the time I was 2, they diagnosed it and said that I probably wasn't going to make it, but they had to do surgery if I had any shot at all. And the surgery was, I wouldn't say experimental, but it was rare. And so they told my folks to be prepared that I wouldn't make it, or if I did make it, that I would probably never walk or talk. And it was supposed to be about an 8-hour surgery. And they told my folks that, if they came out sooner, to be prepared for the worst, that I hadn't made it. And they came out in about 3 hours. And the surgeon said that, he really couldn't explain it, but he felt like something had guided his hand and he just lifted the tumor out. So from that standpoint, it's very successful. The problem was that the tumor had grown at such a quick rate that it was crushing internal, machinery for the body. So it left me blind. It also took away my sense of smell, but I used that to my advantage when I tricked my wife into marriage, because I told her that if she married me, she'd always look perfect and smell perfect. And so she took that deal. We've been married 20 years, so it worked out pretty well. So it also really, the blind part is complicated. I mean, I don't recommend not being able to see if you can help it. But the part that's really more complicated is the part that's not as tangible, which means I have no endocrine system and no pituitary. So that means I don't make adrenaline, I don't make thyroid. There's a lot of bodily functions that I don't have. And so I have to replace, I'm not ill, I don't have a disease that we're treating, but I have to replace all those bodily functions with lots and lots and lots of medicine. So I've had to learn over the years, like, how do I be a successful touring recording artist, producer, recording engineer, all these things I do. I'm also, a professor at a couple of universities here in Georgia. And how do I do all that and still stay healthy? So it's really tricky. I have, about a 3-hour a day medicine regimen that I have to deal with, injections and pills and all kind of fun stuff. But, I've done it. I've done everything I wanted to do. And I really do live a successful life of intention. That's part of it. And so, my main job, what I do that pays most of the bills, I own a recording studio, and I'm a producer and recording engineer and a session musician working with artists all over the world. And then I also teach at a couple of universities. I do master classes in music technology. That's sort of my specialty. I'm also an accessibility advocate. So I talk a lot about making things accessible for people with disabilities. That's important to me. I'm a music journalist, write for a lot of different magazines. I'm also a music publisher. So, and I do a lot of music consulting, helping with branding and different business things about music. And then, of course, a touring recording artist that has a bunch of records out, which is kind of our focus today, is my own, personal music. But anyway, yeah, that's a brief encapsulation. I could go on forever. I have a million stories, but that's a brief encapsulation of who I am and what I'm up to.
Joey, it's an absolute pleasure to know you. You must have come on 3 or 4 shows by now at least, and
yeah.
To the extent where we've actually made a partnership, and yourself and me is going to be doing a podcast once a month, and it's called the Music Mentor Podcast. And Joey's going to be sharing his knowledge. He's a very experienced guy in this world, so I'm going to be doing a podcast with Joey very, very soon.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
We'll talk about that maybe more in the show. Let me first of all talk about your song, You're So Wrong, with the Joey Stuckey Trio. Who is the Joey Stuckey Trio, and what's the story behind that song, You're So Wrong?
So I do so many different musical things that I try to brand each musical thing a little differently so that I can reach my target audience, which is a big deal. And that's a lot of the success that you have in music businesses. who is your audience and how do you reach them? So the Joey Stuckey Trio is really the live band that tours behind my music. And we are a totally made up genre. I mean, all genres are kind of made up, but this one is not recognized by the masses yet, I will say. But we call it progressive Americana. And Americana is a very broad umbrella that encapsulates blues and folk music and country and that kind of thing, and even a little rock. And so I'm an eclectic soul by nature. And so I do it's sort of blues based, but then I sprinkle in a little country, and I also sprinkle in a bit of jazz because I'm a trained classical musician that loves, I was trained classically, then decided to turn my powers to evil and play blues and rock and jazz. But anyway, I sprinkle a little jazz in there. Not that you would notice too much, but in this particular song, you don't really hear it that much. But there's some of my songs have weird time signatures, a lot of odd chords and stuff like that, because I kind of entertain myself. That's kind of a big thing. But the trio is the touring band that goes and does a lot of work. This particular song, what's interesting about this, and I think important to understand, is we were on tour and we were in Memphis, Tennessee, and we had a day off. And I was like, I don't like days off, I want to work. So I told the band, I said, hey, I just heard that you could record at the famous Sun Studio where Elvis and Roy Orbison and Jerry Lee Lewis and Johnny Cash did a lot of their seminal recordings. And I said, why don't we go and record there? Now, they opened the studio. It's a museum for most of the day. I think from 10 to 6 or something like that, it's a museum. 10 to 6 a.m., 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then from like 7 to 10 p.m., you can rent the studio. And I thought it would be fun to do that and record in the old method of doing things. And what I mean by that is all the band in one room, just a few microphones, and no fixing mistakes. If you make a mistake, you got to start over. There's no, so it was that kind of experience. In my recording studio, I've got all these different rooms. I mean, the band can't all be in one room, but I have a piano room and a drum room and all this stuff. And I put, 10 to 14 microphones with the drum kit alone. So this was a very different experience. And I actually wrote this song 2 days before we were going to record it, which is a stupid idea. Never, wow. I always tell my students, never write something the day before you're going to record. That's a terrible idea. But I broke that rule because I wanted to write something, for the occasion. So you'll hear me mention in the lyrics, I'm in the place where Elvis sang. And that's because I wrote that song right before we recorded it. Obviously, 2 days before didn't give us much rehearsal time. But I just thought it'd be fun to do. And initially it was just something to do. I wasn't making a serious record out of it. But then I was like, I like this. This turned out really well. And so we decided to make a record out of it. So the lead vocals, the rhythm guitar, the bass, and the drums were all cut live, the whole band in one room. And then, like backing vocals and stuff we did back at my place. And of course, I mixed it at my place because the Sun Studio is not set up for mixing. The mixing room is awful. I mean, you just, no disrespect, but it's just awful. So you really can't mix there. But you can record there, and we did. So it was a lot of fun. And I just had a blast doing it. And it was just, I think it turned out really well. But the song, just to give you the idea, is we all know people that are just wrong about everything they say and do. And in this instance, I imagined, because my wife is perfect, but I imagined a relationship where the other person was wrong all the time. And it got to the point that I had to tell them how wrong they were and that I was leaving and that I wasn't going to stand for the nonsense anymore. So that's the song. That's what it's all about.
Absolute world-class introduction. I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Joy. So let's get acquainted. If you're not already, I'm sure most people have. I've certainly hand-delivered at least one track of yours to everybody. You're So Wrong by the Joey Stuckey Trio. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. One love.
So many nights we're up late fighting, wrong or right, I always give in. It's just easier to let you win, but tonight's different, tonight it ends. I find myself in the place where Elvis sang about heartbreak, love, and endings. You're gonna find a grown-up spine. Tonight I draw the line. You're so wrong, darling, that I wrote this song, 'cause I thought that you should know this time I'm really when I get back on the bus. Working hard to make a living for the two of us. Just to hear you say it's not enough. But tonight, I call your bluff. Writing songs, looking for the right sound that gets us to that penthouse downtown. They all say it comes in time, but I hate your reason and you hate my rhyme. You're so wrong, darling, that I wrote this song, 'cause I thought that you should know this time I'm really gone. You think I'll never leave you, but to live, darling, I've got to, yeah. The moment's here and I'm feeling just fine. Once and for all, I've made up my mind. I'm leaving all your craziness behind. I'm moving on to better times. You're so wrong, darling, that I wrote this song, 'cause I thought that you should know this time I'm really gone. You're so wrong, darling, that I wrote this song, 'cause I thought that you should know this time I'm really gone.
Absolutely magnificent.
It's a fun tune. Thank you very much for that. We had a blast. And, you know, the thing that was so interesting is, I mean, it's a little raw compared to what I normally put out production wise, but you know, it was a one take thing. We did it in one take. We had 3 hours to cut 10 songs in 3 hours, and that included setup time. And you know, we had, what was really kind of funny is the rhythm guitar. I don't know if you can hear about this, but I'll tell you anyway. The rhythm guitar is a little dirtier than what I would have done had I been left to my own devices. But the amps that they had in Sun Studio, we had all of our stuff in the trailer, but we just said, look, let's go with these 1960s amps and stuff that they had in the room. And I was actually singing on the actual Elvis mic, one of the mics that he sang on back in the late 50s, early 60s. And the amp was from, you know, the late 50s, early 60s. And I could, no matter how hard I tried, I could not get a clean guitar tone out of it. So I was like, oh well, we'll leave it sort of dirty. And I just left it dirty. I mean, it's that room, it's that gear. I mean, it just is what it is. And the drum set's kind of interesting because the drum set had 3 mics on it. It had one overhead, which was catching the toms and the cymbals and a bit of the snare. It had a snare drum mic on the bottom head only. Normally I like to have one on the top and on the bottom. And then a kick drum mic. And I actually requested a hi-hat mic. There's no hi-hat mic. I requested one, but because I can't see, I did not know that they hadn't put it up. So they never put the hi-hat mic up. So everything was just as is, and you know, just really, I don't know, it was fun, man. It was one take, you got it right, and you didn't. And could we have perfected it more? Maybe, but I love the character of it. I just love the character of it.
Well, no one got to see you live, but one of the other videos we're going to feature the other songs that are alive, so you'll see them in action on the stage. Joy,
yeah.
You're world class, everything is perfect. Let's start with the reviews then. Tim Consley in Indiana, what's your thoughts on You're So Wrong by Joey Stuckey Trio?
I really love that song.
Thank you, sir.
Nice beat, nice sound. I dig the raw sound. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
Really loved the guitar and the fact that you use tremolo on it.
Yeah.
That's a little used effect, too little used, I think. And for that song, it was just spot on, perfect. Of course, I'm a guitarist. I listen to
I
the
was
guitar
getting ready
stuff.
to ask you if you were a guitar player.
Yeah, I actually play guitar, bass guitar, drums, and keyboards, but I'm known as a guitarist.
Right.
So yeah, I thought the tremolo on that sounded awesome.
I was so glad you liked that. Most people don't notice those little touches, so that's always a thrill to talk to another guitar player. I love that. And real quick, Tim, just for my own curiosity, what part of Indiana are you?
I am from a place called Versailles. I'm about 30 miles west of where Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, all three come together.
So how far are you from Fort Wayne, where Sweetwater is?
Oh, I'm all the way down in southeastern Indiana.
Okay, because I come through there a lot. I was going to say, man, we'd have to visit if you were kind of close by, because I come through Sweetwater all the time.
I've been to Fort Wayne once. I took my oldest daughter when she was 16 to a concert up there. I don't know, like you're talking about driving almost the whole length of the state.
Yeah, that sounds tricky, especially for me, because I'm not allowed to drive legally anyway.
Right.
I'm not saying I haven't done it, but that's another story for another. That's a story for another time. But thank you for noticing the tremolo. I appreciate that. It just seemed like the right call. So you know,
it was. It sounded just great on it.
Thank you, sir.
Joey, do you know that Tim's got a picture of you as his backdrop? 2 pictures, actually. He's a huge fan already. Tim Consley.
I did not know that.
Remember the name. Steve Andrews in Portugal, and then Mark Story in London. What's your thoughts there, Mr. Andrews?
Well, like Tim, I loved that song. And what really stood out for me was the singing, the vocals were so clear, fantastic vocals, and also the lyrics. I thought it was just a really well-written song. I mean, I'm a singer-songwriter myself, so I'm going to maybe concentrate on lyrics and vocals, but they were really excellent. And also, it was catchy. You know, it was a song that on just one hearing, you know, I'm going to remember that song. And
well, that is great to hear. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that, my friend, because that's the overall point, right? That you leave people with something they can hum along to. And can they, you know, it's a weird thing as a performer. I just saw Ringo Starr in concert, and it was a thrill. And, you know, I had to really work hard not to sing along because I'm such a fan and I love the song so much, but I wanted to hear Ringo. I wanted, you know, because this is getting a chance to hear not only his music, but, you know, Beatles music, which is very big part of my upbringing. I can tell you a story about that later if anybody cares, but it's a big deal to hear a Beatle for me. And but it's amazing how much a crowd loves to sing along, even though they're there to hear that artist. And, you know, I mean, at least half the crowd was singing along, you know. And I said, no, don't enjoy yourself, but listen and take it all in. It's what I want to do, because that's my postcard. That's what I will treasure for the rest of my life. So it's interesting that you know, as an artist, if you can get people to sing along, actually is one of the biggest goals of your career. What a thrill it is to hear people singing your song back to you. I mean, that's just an incredible thing. So if you can leave them with something catchy and something that's also easy to sing along to after hearing it one time, then that is the goal. So thank you for that compliment. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. That means I did something right.
You're very welcome, Joey. And like, I love Ringo as well.
In fact, what a guy.
His latest release, I think, is brilliant.
I do too. I love it. And you know, he's smart. He's I think he's like 84, 85, something like that.
Yeah, he's in his 80s. That's right.
And I took a lesson from him at that concert. He has an all-star band, and something he did that was really, really smart. As someone who has health challenges myself and has to watch my energy expenditure, because, you know, if I get tired, my body doesn't make more adrenaline. That doesn't happen. So, you know, he did something brilliant, which was he brought this amazing band together to play his songs and to play a couple Beatles songs, but he also featured each member of the band on 3 songs throughout the night. And while they did that, he either went back and played drums, or a couple times he just went off stage and basically rested. And the audience, you know, was still engaged and having a great time. And I was like, this is genius. When I get his age, that's how I'm going to manage it. I'm going to get some guys and say, okay, I'm taking a break. You keep going. I'll be right back.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep going when I'm in my 80s. I got to.
You've still got another 8 reviews to go here, Joy, on the first song. Mark Story in London, and then Marion Vedder in the Netherlands. Mark Story, London.
Hi, Joe. It's a real pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. I've actually heard some of your music, so I enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Well, I've been doing my homework today, and I checked out your Blind Man Driving video.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Thank you.
You know, I might be jumping the gun here, but that's what I've been doing. So I've now subscribed to all your YouTube channels. That song is fantastic. That we just listened to. It had a kind of from one take. That is incredibly impressive. I mean, I like to do my takes, you know, but to do it in one take, to turn out a song of that quality with that, it's a great song. It's commercial without being overtly commercial. Had a bit of a Tom Petty feel to me a little bit. Oh, that's not an insult, but you know,
No, never.
Yeah, really smooth. I loved it. I really, really loved it. So I'm really looking
thank you,
forward to
sir.
hearing some more stuff.
I appreciate that, my friend. That means a lot. You know, I am always pleased, no matter the artist. If somebody else hears someone that they like in my music, and someone that has obviously been very successful, I love it. As it happens, I love Tom Petty as well. But even if I didn't, that would be awesome. And I appreciate you looking at Blind Man Driving, because we can talk about that more later. But the proudest I am of that video is that I was convinced, as a blind person, I had to walk around and run and do some stuff. And I was like, man, I'm gonna break my face doing this. I'm gonna fall over. I'm gonna crash and burn. I did not fall one time, and I was able to do it. And you know, it sounds like not a big deal. And I'm not saying I'm a super fast runner, but I ran as fast as I was able to, and not be able to see where you're going and running at the same time is not what I would call a good idea. But I made it work, and I was so proud that I did it without any real trouble. We did a couple different takes so they could get different angles, and I didn't fall and bust my face. So that's what I'm so proud of with that video. And also, for those of you that hadn't seen it, I don't know if Mark wants to play it later or not, or if you're able to, but for those of you that hadn't seen it, it's interesting because the hook of the song is "Loving You is like a blind man driving." So that's the sort of comical element, because a blind man driving clearly is a bad idea. And so I wanted for the song, I wanted the police department to come out and pretend to be chasing me through town. And everybody was like, oh, they'll never do it. They'll never do it. They'll never do it. And they did. They gave us an officer and a car and spent the day with us. And it was amazing. I was so excited. But anyway, I didn't mean to get off topic or down to the revenue. But
That's brilliant.
anyway, thank you for that.
Well said.
You're welcome. Brilliant.
If we do have time, we'll play it as the fourth song. It's not one of the three you wanted to feature, but let me just say something. Anubis, do you only have 5 minutes? Do you have to go at 1:30? Would you like to say the next before Matt? Because I think Anubis needs to leave. He was only coming for 30 minutes.
Understood.
Yeah. I
Anubis in Texas.
I wanted to, you know, listen to you come in for 30 minutes. And first of all, man, I know you're saying earlier, you do 30 minutes talking, 70 minutes music. I think for me, I think it's you're an inspiration to others for what you have gone through, and to be able to share that at your show. It's more than just music. It's an inspiration for our lives and what you've gone through. Just briefly, what you have talked about what you've gone through as a kid, you know, your brain tumor, whatever you had, and everything gone through. It's very inspirational. I think that's part of your soul walk, and very inspirational to others to get to hear that. So I definitely think that's phenomenal that you get a chance to.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, because I've had a rough life too, and so I get it, man. And it'll motivate people. It just lifts us to you know, to get through stuff.
That
to
is
hear
my
other
principal goal. That is my principal goal, to make sure that everyone knows if I can do it, you can do it. And that is my main thing that I want to leave.
I think it's the most important thing while we're here. Yeah, and I could feel that from you, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. As far as the song, man, it was for me. I mean, I got a crappy speaker on my phone, but man, the production for doing like they were all saying, for one take,
Yeah.
and then you went back and mixed it. It sounded phenomenal.
Thank you very much. There were some challenges. I won't lie. There was a challenge because I didn't have my hi-hat mic that I wanted. There was a couple of challenges, but we made it work.
Yeah, I hear you. So you understand, man, you understand. I mean, you're a professional and teach music. Who am I to say anything? But for me, I mean, to describe it, you understand tension and release. You understand songwriting. You understand choruses and melodies, because I'm big and harsh on myself with that. You know, I mean, I'm going to do what I feel I want to do, but I also want it to be catchy, not just to the others, but to me as well. And I felt all that in there. The lyrics were great. The structure was great. You had a breakdown, and you had the solo after the second chorus. Then went into the last chorus. You kind of doubled it, went out with some O's and stuff. I just thought it was phenomenal songwriting altogether. You just really understand songwriting, and I love hearing that. when I heard that song, it's just a great song, man. I really enjoyed it, brother.
Thank you so much. That's
That's
important to me. I appreciate that. It's funny. My songwriting process is interesting because I go initially just on inspiration and instinct, and then I come back and use the music school training that I have and refine little bits of it. And what I do is I'll write something, let it sit for a couple days. In this case, I didn't have that option because we only had 2 days before we got to record. But let it sit a couple days and go, hey, does this still interest me? Do I still feel interested by this? And then refine the little, like what the harm, because I write the bass lines and the drum parts, and I don't play all those. I'm an adequate drummer, but I'm a great part writer. So I write all the parts and write all the stuff, and so I come back and kind of use the intellect for that. But mostly it's just letting my spirit do its thing, and so your comments mean a lot to me. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
well said.
I agree. I'm very similar to that actually when I write. Very similar to how you said that, because I kind of write everything too. Since I left my bands, I do everything myself. So I write very similar to how you write. I let my spirit, my soul guide me. If I'm feeling it, just come out of you.
Yeah, and that's something that actually takes more time to cultivate than you think, because sometimes we block ourselves. Sometimes we're like, if we've got too much doubt, it gets in the way of your spirit. So one of the things I really stress to my students is, when we study music theory and we practice our scales and all these things, the goal is to train your body and mind so that they get out of the way when you're inspired. And so that the only thing you're limited by is your imagination and your inspiration. So that's the goal. The scales and stuff, some guitar players and musicians stop at the scales, and that's where they go, oh, I learned all these scales, now I can regurgitate these scales. But the goal really is it's not those forms. We're training ourselves so that the spirit can take over. That's how I think about it.
I agree 100% with that, because sometimes the technicality of music theory and all that will take away from what you feel and take away from what would naturally be, because you're thinking with your brain too much and not feeling anymore.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like it's like anything else. You cultivate good habits, and you train your mind, and you go, okay, C to F is a fourth, and all these things, and all that stuff's important. I think it's, especially if you're writing like string parts and horn parts and stuff like that, which I do. But you want to train yourself so much that you don't have to think about it anymore, and so you're just being driven by the spirit and letting that take focus. And I think that's not only a musical lesson but a life lesson to have. That's something when you're just living your life, and that's what I talk about a lot. Is to exist is simply not sufficient. One has to have a life of intention. What I mean by that is a life that they value and that other people can be inspired by and be blessed by. And that's really important, I think, to feeling successful. Because when I'm here with you guys, I feel successful. This means a lot to me, just to chat with fellow creative people. And that's success to me. So you have to plan, how do I divvy up my time? I do the things that mean something to me and that mean to others. And if I can act as any kind of template for education or inspiration, then that makes me feel like the struggle is worth it. I didn't mean to go way down that rabbit hole. So I'm sure Mark's like, we're out of time. But anyway.
No, not at all. I'm here all night. Anubis Morrison, Joey Stuckey, make sure you check each other out, man, straight away.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Miss Marion Vedder in the Netherlands now. Marion, what's your thoughts there, my dear?
Well, first of all, Joey, Anubis here, he took the words right out my mouth. The things you've gone through, and I can relate a little bit because I'm visually impaired also. Ooh. But I'm not blind, but
right.
So I can imagine what it must have been for you. So, yeah. But you've worked around it, and it's so inspiring and so impressive. So, okay, that's just my kudos on you. So now on your song, I really like the song. I could hear the Beatles influences, and it's a great song. It's great lyrics, and also producer wise, it's sounding very lively. So and that's a very good thing, because these days songs are very much overproduced. Yeah. So and you didn't do that. You kept that lively feeling, like it's just so great, and it moves you, like. the lyrics also that you want to like talk back, like, hey, you know, you want to be friends, or you want to be right, or do you want to be friends, you know, like that.
Exactly.
I hear you, you know, it's
Yeah.
getting right into me. So yeah, it's a great song, man.
Oh,
Really.
fantastic. Thank you, my friend. You know, I really am so interested. I have to say, I think that if anyone has ever cared about harmonies, you know, the Beatles are one of the seminal groups that had such impressive harmonies. I think that's one of the things that made them so great.
Yeah.
Is their sense of harmony, their sense of melody. So yeah, I think it's impossible for me not to, you know, have that Beatles influence, because it's kind of an interesting story, at least to me. My mom, when I was a kid, honestly, I didn't know much about anything except survival. I mean, that was the focus. Live another day. I almost died a number of times. After my brain tumor surgery, I was in the hospital in intensive care unit for, you know, like 45 days. It was touch and go. I have an excellent memory, and I remember that time. A lot of people don't have memories before like 3 or 4 years old, but I remember all that time. I remember running like 104 fever, and they packing me in a tub of ice, and all these things that were not pleasant. But my mom, when I was about 7 years old, bought me a Beatles record for no reason at all, except that she saw it when she was out shopping and thought, oh, I'll bring it home and give it to Joey. Maybe he'll like it. And man, that record changed my life. And I played that thing over and over, and I tried to drove her nuts. I played it over and over again. But they were always such a source of comfort and inspiration and good times for me, even when I was feeling bad. So you know, they're kind of part of my musical DNA. Like, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to divorce myself from that influence. And you know, but it's true. You know, you were talking about overproducing things. I mean, you know, as a producer, I try to let the music and the artist be who they are. I don't try to pigeonhole. One of the big mistakes, I think, in the music business is people say, well, every female singer needs to sound like Kelly Clarkson or Adele, or who you just name your. And my position on that is, no, we don't need another Adele. We have her. She's great. We don't need another Kelly Clarkson. We have her. She's great. Let's make the artist sound like the best version of themselves that we can. So, you know, if I needed super slick production, I've done it. But you're right. I prefer more organic. For me, I'm not saying that's what's right for all my clients, because some of my clients need that, especially like an EDM and stuff like that. But for me, I just like that live feeling where all the people are participating in the moment, and that, I think that makes it more compelling for me. Anyway, your comments are so brilliant, and thank you for that. And I want to get to your neck of the woods sometime. I've been wanting to come over there and visit. Okay. So hopefully one day I'll make it over there. I still haven't made it to Canada yet, but but maybe I could. But I've been to the UK and Europe a lot, and all over the United States. But anyway, thank you so much for your time.
If you ever come to the Netherlands, let me know. I mean,
believe me. Hey, you said it. I'll hold you to it.
All right.
Marion Vedder, Cosmic Soulfire is her artist name. She's fantastic. We're going to be doing a review show for Marion soon as well. So awesome. We've got Kirsty, Rich, Danny, and Kurt still to say something. Peter, you never heard the song. Welcome to the show, Peter from South Africa. But Kirsty, then Rich. What's your thoughts?
Hey, hi Joey. How's it going?
My friend. Good to see you.
Hello. So good to have you here, Joey. We've been listening to your Spotify, and every track is so catchy and it's so heart written. Like, it's fantastic. I recommend everyone to check out your Spotify. And I've got to ask you one question. How many instruments do you play, Joey?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I dabble with several. So I have a mandolin. I have a ukulele. Is the correct way to pronounce it, but it's actually, people say ukulele. And I have something called a shamisen, and I play all of those sort of noodly. I don't sound terrible, but I'm not a genius on it either. I'm also an adequate drummer. I minored in percussion in college, so I'm decent, but I'm a much better part writer than I am a technician, because I never practice, which is, I'm not ashamed to admit I never practice. And then I'm also sort of a low side of adequate keyboard player. If it's something real basic, I'll play it myself. Like the keyboard that was on that song, there was only keyboard in one spot in that song that we just played. I played that because it I wasn't going to pay somebody to do it. But if I need something really amazing like a keyboard player, like I'll get a friend of mine who has a master's degree in piano performance, let him come work his magic. But I play a lot of piano for my clients if it's something simple. But it is kind of funny because everyone that doesn't know me real well thinks, oh, he's blind, he must play piano because of, you know, Stevie Wonder and Ronnie Millsap, and of course the great Ray Charles. So it's pretty funny. Like, hey, you can play piano. I was like, no, you don't want that. But I play guitar, bass, and sing at a really high level. So those
Wow,
are my
that's
super,
enough.
those are my
That's a
super
lot.
competitive ones. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, in the studio, I sound like I'm a good drummer and I sound like I'm a great keyboard player, but I cheat. So it works for recording, but live it's not as exciting.
And of course, you sing as well. That's an instrument.
Oh, your voice is very much just absolutely. So yeah, singing, guitar, and bass. I'm competitive. I will take on just about anybody on those. I feel like I'm competitive, but and for a while, I mean, you don't really hear this much in what I do, but for a while, I mean, I did like opera and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So I was trained classically in all those disciplines, so I can do that. But I don't, mainly because I love classical music, but mainly because the amount of time it takes me to memorize a score, because I can't sight read, right? So, and even if I read Braille music, which I don't, but if I did, you have to use both hands. Well, you can't play and use both hands to read. And also, if you're a singer, there are certain things that you're supposed to do, like posture and stuff like that. So I can't sit there on my hands with music all the time. It's just not practical. So I have to memorize the entire score. And for me to do that takes time. I have a great memory, but it takes time. So the expenditure of time that I put into a classical performance versus what I get paid to do it is just not anywhere near equal. So if, the London Symphony said, hey, we want to feature you as our feature vocalist, I would do that. I'd do that for free. But ordinarily, just playing a little classical concert here, they're just not worth my time and effort. So anyway, I say that all to say that, I compete at a high level with vocals and stuff like that. I teach voice as well. I teach guitar, all that kind of stuff. But the stuff I teach at university is actually music technology. It's a little bit different. But I teach a number of things, whether they want it or not. I give it to them in my classes.
The answer to Kirsty's question is you probably play more instruments than Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles put together, So
well, I play a bunch, and the thing is, I've studied a lot of instruments, so I know a lot about horns. I know a lot about strings. I mean, I've worked really hard to know those instruments and what I think the biggest mistake people make when they're writing arrangements or they're playing the horn parts or the string parts on the piano is they don't understand the natural range of the instrument and how a violinist or how a horn player would approach a certain melodic figure. So I think that's a real strength. Being from an arrangement standpoint is really understanding those. Again, I don't play them particularly well, but I know enough about them. Like, I'm totally blind, and I took a class in conducting in school, and it was the hardest class I ever took. And it was really, and I knew I was in trouble when the professor said to me, so the most important thing about conducting is eye contact. I'm like, uh-oh, that's not going to work. And then he said, hey, everybody go home and practice your gestures in the mirror. I was like, well, that's not going to work. So, but I learned enough. I passed that class with a B. And normally I'm the guy that makes all A's and doesn't work that hard at it, but I've worked my butt off in that class. And I got a B. Probably didn't. I'm not sure if I deserved that. But I think they felt sorry for me because I was working so hard. But anyway, the point is that, at least now I'm not a good conductor, but at least I understand it and can communicate with conductors when I need something. So from a mental aspect, even though I'm not particularly good conductor, just understanding about that field is really important to make you able to communicate with people that you need to talk to when you're making a record. Anyway, didn't mean to go that rabbit hole, but
well, Joey, do you know something? You're the best talker in the family. We've still got Rich Chambers in Vancouver, Danny Horowitz in Toronto, and
I will shorten my
Tennessee.
spiel.
So, Rich Chambers, what's your thoughts here, brother?
Joey, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm sitting here listening to you. I'm nodding my head the whole time. I totally dig everything you're saying. Totally get into it. It's hard also to talk about. Everybody else has mentioned so many things that were off the top of my head about your song and what I liked about it. And but there's a few things I'll go to. One, I've been to Sun Studios as well.
Yes.
Holy crap! It's a small little dingy little room.
It's a hole in the wall, man.
Yeah, it's amazing the records that came out of that room because there's not much to it.
It's crazy, and it's so like they have like CDs in the shop, as you probably know, that have, you know, different things that were recorded there. And I got those and listened to them, and it was amazing how good they sound. I mean, you know, and I don't know if you recorded at Sun Studio or just visited the museum.
No, I did one of the tours. I did one of the tours.
So I mean, and I don't mean this in any critical way, but the people that are quote unquote the sound engineers there don't really understand sound. What they do is they put you on the same X's that they had marked from the 50s.
Yeah.
And you stand in the same place, and they put the microphones exactly how they've been doing it for, you know, 60 years or whatever.
I saw those X's. They're on the floor. They're there and tape on the floor.
Yeah. And so that's like, this is what we know. This room sounds good in this spot.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you get. And, you know, I forgot to mention that the drum set they let you use actually was gifted to them by one of my favorite bands of all time, U2. And it was the drum set they used when they recorded in Memphis the song Angel of Harlem.
Oh, Harlem, that's right.
It was a blast. Let me tell you something. We all took turns of our studio time playing on that drum kit. Like, dude, I'm playing on this drum set. I know you're the drummer. I told my buddy Charles, I was like, you're the drummer, but we're all going to take a turn on this drum set because this is U2's drum set. So just get over it.
I appreciate this big time. I was sitting at the piano at the end of the tour, and I'm playing a bit of the piano, and the tour guy comes up to me and says, "You see that cigarette stain down on the lower keys?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "That was from Jerry Lee Lewis. He recorded Great Balls of Fire or some other song of this." And I just said, suddenly I lifted my hands up. Oh, I'm touching royalty. I shouldn't be touching this.
No, I know how you feel. It's intimidating. You think all the amazing records that have come from this place.
Yeah.
And you just have to, like, when you're recording there, you just have to, like, not think about it. Because otherwise you just be like, oh my God, what am I doing?
But you know the amazing story about Sun Studios, and I'm sure everybody here will agree with me. The studio isn't much, but that's the of music. Music can be captured anywhere. It's all about essence. It's all about feel. It's all about, you know, you don't have to have, I've said to many people who say, "Rich, how do you get those sounds?" I say, you don't need $10,000 guitars. You don't need $20,000 mixing boards. What you need is a good song and a good ear and a good performance. And what I love about what you did is you just banged it off. I didn't hear any auto tune in there. I love it.
No.
Too much auto tune going on. And the song itself, it's efficient songwriting. I love what you said about melody. Joey, I heard all kinds of influences. I heard Tom Petty. I heard, like Mark said, I heard Colin James, a Vancouver guy. I heard Nick Lowe. I heard some Paul Westerberg. That could have sat on the single.
Absolutely, Paul Westerberg, sure.
Well, so, you know, they're all over the map, and I absolutely love that. I think that's amazing.
I appreciate that because I'm just so eclectic. I can't help it. You know, when I work as a producer, I put on my producer hat, and I'm very focused, and I understand the genre that the client's going for. And you know, I go out and see them live. I spend time with them to make sure I know who they are and what they need. But for me, I just do my thing, and I know that even though I may not sell an 80,000 seat arena, there are people that will enjoy it, and that's who I'm, you know, appealing to. But just to really quickly comment, Mark, I'll shut up after this, but the auto tune thing drives me up the wall. Yes. I'm not saying you can't use it as an effect. I think in hip hop it works okay, but man, people that are amazing singers are auto tuning themselves. I'm like, why?
I know they're ruining.
Because I can hear it and it drives me bonkers.
I mean, Joey, you go back to those old Beatles records, and they're not always hitting the note, and that's the beauty of them.
They got mistakes all over the place.
Of them.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing I got to ask you when I talk about as a producer, are you a Brian Wilson fan? I hear a lot of Brian Wilson. You sound
sure.
Brian Wilson.
How can you not?
But anyway, and one last thing I do have to say to you, your story is so bloody inspirational. I think you need to get in front of a lot of people. If you thought about applying to America's Got Talent, man, you could totally get on there.
You know, I haven't, but I'm open to any opportunity. You know, I tell my wife, I'll try anything once. So I'm open to anything.
I've done auditions before. They're actually taking live. They're doing virtual auditions. They're going to be doing them sort of like December, January. Google it. America's Got Talent auditions. Your story needs to be heard, man. Lots of people need to hear your story. It's a great platform.
I'll do it. Thanks for letting me know because I hadn't even thought about it really.
Yeah, America's Got Talent. And like I said, they're doing a virtual auditions right now. So you want to get on that right away, like through December, they're booking virtual auditions.
I will delegate it to my wife and tell her to make it her problem.
Rich, reach out to Joy and keep them right for that then. And here, who would it like to see Rich and Joy do something together? That would be, wow. Honestly,
Listen, I love collaborating, so I'm open to that all the time. I love doing that with other friends. It's awesome.
Well, Joey, I listened to one of your tracks. You Know My Name. I listened to that before we got on. Holy crap. I heard Shades of Joe Bonamassa in there. I loved all the moves on the track. Loved it.
That was a fun song to play and writing those horn parts and then
Yeah.
fun song. I just enjoyed that song vocally because I get to show off a little bit, which is fun.
I know, great guitar player, man. It was cool. It's fun to listen
Oh,
to.
thank you, sir. Thank you
World
very
class.
much.
Well, wait till you see him live then, honestly, in the live video. Danny Horowitz in Toronto, Canada. What's your thoughts there, my friend?
Hey, Joey. So I was listening to all the comments and questions, and they covered so much of what I wanted to talk about. It was just interesting to listen to you talk about your journey and your thoughts on the industry. I think one thing that maybe I'm personally interested in is the bass line in that track that you had, because I like listening to the bass, and when I put my music on Spotify and I talk to my bassist, we think about how to put that in as a complement to the drums.
Oh,
When
yes.
you were on the floor with everybody, I know it was a bit of an ad hoc see what happens session, but it sounded like such a smooth bass line. Was that part of it? Was the rhythm part of it planned at all? And do you
Oh,
do you
yeah.
usually start songs, with at least in the studio with bass and drums, or do you work backwards?
Yeah, that's a very perceptive question. I am a real picky SOB when it comes to stuff like that. So the thing that I really preach and lay down in rehearsals, and I normally I settle this in the rehearsals and not the studio, but sometimes you have to settle it in the studio. But typically I'm already there, because I write the drum parts and because I write the bass parts. I am real interested in what's called coupling, where the kick drum and the bass guitar are at least complementary, not necessarily playing the same thing, but at least complementary. And the groove, as you'll notice, that bass line is boom, 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 boom. It's got a lot of movement to it, and so it's got to have, it's got to have some complementary stuff happening with the kick drum, and that's one of the first things I do when I'm going to produce a client. If most of my clients honestly are solo artists, so I usually play keys, drums, bass, and guitar for them in the studio, and then I produce their vocals and usually write all their harmony parts. And I do it real easily. I turn on the talk back and go, sing this, okay, great, we got it. Sing this, great, we got it. And then I deal with the mixing and all that kind of stuff later. But but anyway, yeah, I mean, as a professional session musician that plays bass, I mean, I'm really aware of that. And it is usually hammered out pretty quickly in rehearsal. And honestly, like when I rehearse, I'm only performing myself at probably 60% capacity, because I'm mostly listening to everybody else and making sure that everything is going where I want it to go. Typically, not always. In this case, we didn't do this, but typically I even write out a demo track where I play everything and go, here's the drum part. But yeah, I am super conscious of making sure, the bass in the bottom end is simpatico with the kick drum, and those things are really complementary. And I can't tell you how many sessions have been, just ruined by not having that happen, and I have to go in and fix it. Say, hey guys, this isn't working. That's actually a lot of the job of a producer is a psychologist. And because if there's a band situation in particular, and I say, hey, listen, what you're playing is not working, you're going to have to play something like this. I don't try to make it 100% my idea, but I try to guide them the right direction. And that way they could be mad at me and not mad at each other. If the guitar player goes, hey man, the bass line sucks, you know what's going to happen? Everybody gets mad and work is over for the day. But if they can still love each other, they can be mad at me, because be mad at me. I don't care. It's fine. So, but I am really conscious of that. And in this particular instance, we used, because it was such a short time frame, I had written the song ahead of time and I kind of spelled out what I wanted, but we also used a couple of our sound checks when we were on tour to work through some stuff. So that's kind of how we do it. Yeah. But so we had it nailed down structure wise, and groove and all that stuff was nailed down before we recorded, but we just hadn't played it together very often. And so it could have been a disaster, but it wasn't, thank God.
Oh, it's a pleasure to watch and listen to you. Danny Horowitz and Joey Stuckey, check each other out, follow each other.
I will, and I want to come to Canada. That's what this.
Absolutely.
I got to get there.
Yeah, I'd love to have you come to Canada and do some shows. And
let's do it.
I'd love to have you check out some of my music on the bass line.
Do it. And listen, everybody wants to chat. My email address is joey@joeystuckey.com. So please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear everybody's music and follow everybody on Spotify and all that good stuff. Because we are a family.
Great question, Danny. So this is the last question of the first round from Kurt Inevitable in Tennessee. Hey, Kurt.
Tennessee.
Hey, how's it going? Let's see. Yeah, it's catchy. I like the melody. I like the bridge. I like the outro. And like Mark said earlier, I'm a guy, I do EDM, so I
Cool.
like having my ability to do 15 takes of whatever it is and make it
Yeah.
perfect. And you know, you
Yeah.
didn't have that opportunity. And what you guys did in basically one take or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
the one you kept, amazing, incredible. And it was good balance and you know, but you know, as far as you personally, I'm so happy that, you know, doing music and producing and teaching, you know, are a lift and a purpose for you, you know, less for people. And even though, even people who don't, you know, have any physical impairments would just stew in their own challenges and just not do anything creative, you know, and you've far beyond, you know, done that. So I'm so happy for you that you have kind of, you know, seized life and made it amazing. So, but and as far as the cops, you know, it never hurts to ask, you know, get them in that video. They're there to serve and protect, you know.
That's right.
Wait till you
Well-
see it. I'm going to play it at the end for sure. It's one of the best videos you'll ever see. Joey hijacks a car at the start of the video. I'm in a hurry, get out your car. He
Yeah.
steals it and he wheel spins off and it's hilarious. It's absolutely brilliant.
The thing that's so funny about that is my wife's a nurse, and actually she has a master's degree in nursing. And one of her colleagues said, well, Jennifer, boy, it sure is amazing that Joey did that. But I mean, didn't they get upset when he was driving without a license? And she was like, sweetie, he didn't really drive. So we did a pretty good job of convincing people that I was driving, apparently. So I mean, I'm crazy, but not stupid.
It's a world-class track, and Joey's been on the 1010 podcast and featured that one. That's why he's originally featuring 3 different tracks. But let's go on to the next track, Kurt. We'll start off with you the next time. We'll start in reverse order next time. So, Joey, what's the story behind your song "Born to Be Your Toy"? This time with Joey and the Shadow Bandits.
Well, so let me ask you this, Mark. I sent you "Born to Be Your Toy" in 2 versions. I sent you the live version.
Right. I'll play the live version, and that's what I'll do. I'll set it up if you introduce it. Thank you, bro.
Well, yeah. So I mean, here's the deal. This song was written with my dear friend Charlie Hoskins, as I said, who passed away in 2017. And he had a lot of connections with a couple bands you'll know, the bands The Pogues, and he formed a spinoff group from that group, a group called The Popes, and they toured all over the world with like the Stranglers and some people like that, and who I'm a big fan of those guys. And then he also had some connections to the band Modern English. So we met in 2015 when I was in the UK speaking at University College of London, and he came up to me and said something that made me know we were going to be friends for life, and it was true. He said, "Hi, my name is Charlie, and my superpower is I can sing like a girl." And he was not kidding. But he was just this amazing guy, and it thrills my heart to play music that he and I wrote together, because it's keeping his musical legacy alive, and it just makes me so excited to do that. So the way he would write typically is he'd come up with the chords, and then he'd send those to me, and I'd write a melody and the lyrics, and I'd send it back to him, and then he would say, well, what if we do this? What if he may play bass guitar on it, and then he'd send it back to me. I'd put rhythm and lead guitar on it or whatever. We just traded back and forth because he had a home studio in the UK, and I have a commercial studio. So we did that and just traded files over the internet, and it was just brilliant, and I loved it. So on the live version of that, which I think we'll play.
Yeah, play the live one for sure.
Yeah.
People need to see you in action. You need to see. You need to see his band. It's about 20 members, all with the brass, everything. It's insane. Keep going, Joey. Yeah, we need to do the live one.
So this particular live version is just a trio, but we were in LA at the beginning of 2020 at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go, and we had a sold out crowd. We were so thrilled because we worked so hard to get into that circuit where we were playing sold out crowds at venues that were really great. And I had been sick the night before, like actually for 2 days. Finally had to call my doctor at like 3 a.m, East Coast time. And like, dude, you got to fix me because I got a show to do. I got to be on this show. I cannot be sick. And so we went through some hoops and got that done. And it was a fantastic show, so much fun. And we had a great time. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that I was exhausted, but only in one place can you tell it, because I mess up the first lyric in the song. But I'm not ashamed to tell you that. But otherwise, I think it's really compelling. And the song is about a relationship that you know is a terrible idea, but because you are so enamored with the other person, you do it anyway. And so it's about born to be your toy. It's like, you know, I was born to be manipulated by you because I like your legs or whatever. You know, so that's the thing. And if you want to play the lyric video afterwards, you know, you're welcome to do that, because that's the other one I sing. Just so we could pick. But the lyric video is not super compelling. I mean, it's just a picture with lyrics on it.
I would do the live one and then let them see the blind man driving video, because that'll knock it out the park.
That's a brilliant idea.
I think that's a great
you're
idea.
in charge. You're in charge.
Yeah, let's get the live. Joey on stage. What do you say? The last time was just a video. Well, that's when you're going to see him live on stage.
Yeah.
With Born to Be Your Toy with the Joey Stuckey Trio. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen.
We got this is a brand new one. You're not supposed to make brand new songs when you go out for your first time, but we're gonna do it anyway. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tear me apart, is how you get your kicks. Yeah, 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 yeah. I said never again. You say, come here, boy. Oh, 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 oh. You went again. I was born to be your toy. But I'm still going down. In your sweet poison, I'm bound to drown. Just when I think I can let go, you tear my body and tear my soul. Yeah, 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 yeah. You say, I say, never again. You say, come here, boy. Whoa, 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 whoa. You went again. I was born to be your toy. And you have the power, and I have none. Locked in your tower. Take that tight, I lost the right. The race is run. I say, never again. You say, come here, boy. Yeah. You were again. I was born to be a toy.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you hear the mastered version as well. Before we even go anywhere, I'm going to let you hear the studio version because I think that's what Joy meant. Sit back and enjoy the full sound version. That was Joy on stage. Enjoy.
You got jealous bones and paranoid blood. I'm made of stone, you're made of mud. Your every curse ever known to man. I should be running as fast as I can. Your eyes burn with the fire of hell. What you'll do next, no man could ever tell. Tastes so sweet, I got to get my fix. Tear me apart, is how you get your kicks. Yeah, 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 yeah. I say never again. You say, come here, boy. You win again. I was born to be a toy. Yeah. I fought your pull, but I'm still going down. In your sweet poison, I'm bound to drown. Just when I think I can let go, you tempt my body and tempt my soul. Yeah, 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 yeah. I say never again. You say, come here, boy. You win again. I was born to be a toy. You have the power, and I have none. Locked in your tower, the chains are tight. I lost the fight. The race is run. I say never again. You say, come here, boy. Yeah. Oh, you do, baby. You win again. I was born to be a toy. I say never again. You say, come here, boy. You win again. I was born to be a toy. I was born to be a toy. I was born to be a toy. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic, Josie.
I enjoyed that. It was a grungy, gritty song.
Yeah, man. Absolutely world class, dude. World class. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in reverse this time. I think Danny had to go, so we'll go Kurt. I'll do it in reverse. I remember the order. Kurt and then Rich.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Great song idea, great lyrics. It was cool to have the lyric video version to kind of reinforce the lyrics because the live version was, I was kind of paying attention to the performance, but the lyric version I could really pick up on your writing. So But man, you have a versatile voice. I mean, you can go growly on this version. You can do the more pop clean thing on the other song, the first song, and wow, you can wail when you need to, you know. Tight playing by the band. You're a badass on guitar. Let's see. Oh, and you guys on that live version did a lot with just 3 instruments. You know, that's cool. I don't see a lot of bands. I'm in Nashville, and you know, we've got live music 24/7, and I don't see a lot of bands that are doing just 3 instruments. So that's cool. And I really like those black crash cymbals your drummer had. I don't know if you knew that was back there, but
I did not know they were black. I had no idea.
Unusual.
Yeah, well, you know, first of all, I come to Nashville all the time, so we'll have to visit next time I'm up in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. Let me know.
My wife is from there, so we come up there. And I do a lot of work. I've recorded some stuff at Ocean Way, not for me, but as a producer, I've been at Ocean Way all the time. I appreciate that. You know, I realize now when I sent the live version, I thought, well, this will be more visually interesting, and I didn't realize till we played it there was such a big volume difference. But we enjoyed the live version. I think considering I've been up about 24 hours straight. It was good.
Wow. Now, how many songs did you guys get to do with that live set?
We did we did about an hour or an hour and a half, something like that. I can't remember exactly. So we did a full hour and a half, something like that. So we did, yeah, it was a long day. And then I had to be there ahead of time because we had a meet and greet. And I don't know how many people are into marketing and stuff, but we had this thing called Stop and Repeat, which is basically a big graphic that you put up where people stand and take pictures and stuff. So we had a huge meet and greet, and a lot of fans showed up. And I wish I have a version of that video that was shot from somebody in the crowd, but the sound is so bad. But what was neat about it is you could see the audience's reaction and how engaged they were, which was really thrilling. And especially with me talking all the silly stuff I talk. And I had a lot of people that we really enjoyed that and had a good time. So it was fun. But yeah, I am versatile. I appreciate you mentioning that. And I just do whatever I think the song requires. And honestly, that's a little tricky from a branding standpoint. If you're so broad, you know, if you do so many different things and do them all reasonably well, it's kind of tricky. So I brand myself very broadly, but then I brand each record very narrowly, which I think is a good trick for anyone out there that are eclectic as well. You know, that's kind of the way you get around it, because the bottom line is I just can't be anything other than who I am. I have to do. Now I'm not talking as a producer. Producer's a whole different ball of wax. And you know, I've been a sideman. I've been hired to be backup vocals and guitar for different friends and different bands. And you know, I embrace those roles and give them what they need. But for me personally, I just feel like the most genuine thing I can do and the best time you're going to have is for me just to be myself. And some will like it and some won't, and that's totally okay. But yeah, I really enjoyed that song. It was so much fun, and I appreciate my bass player finding that sort of saucy picture to be in the background, so that you can really understand the point of the song.
Everyone loves you, Joey. You're possibly the most lovable person I've ever met in my life. And
I love that, my friend. I'll take it. I will take it.
Your talent is world class, and I mean, if even people who can see can do half the stuff you can do, they'd be world class. So what does that make you?
I have no idea.
I don't know what to say. Let Peter from South Africa. You never got to hear the first song, Peter.
Oh, Peter, yeah, come on through, my friend.
Peter, what's your thoughts, brother?
Oh my, yes, I missed the first song, but I saw all the questions, and did I enjoy listening to you, Joey? Your stories are amazing. I enjoyed the song. It must have been fantastic to play there at the club. One thing I took from your comments at the studio version was you said I like to have a kind of organic, nice one, Mark, organic feel to the sound, and I could hear that most definitely in the drums of the studio version. Of course, in the live version, yeah, it all blends a bit. And as a guitarist myself, a great guitar playing. I enjoyed that.
Well done. Oh, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. You know, it's true. I mean, I have I have about almost not quite 200 microphones in my collection, and I have a DW drum kit. That's a 7-piece, and all these different things. And I have a drum kit from the 1950s. It's a Slingerland drum kit, which is kind of the Ringo Starr drum kit. And again, most of my productions 10 to 14 mics on everything. Very, very slick and that kind of thing. So we do a lot of sort of pop stuff at the studio because that's just kind of what's going on. But I try to make the sound fit the song. And for that particular song, I wanted something minimalistic. We used a lot of room mics, so there were not a lot of close mics on things.
Yeah, you could most definitely hear the room there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that was all by design, because and honestly, it was sort of a Led Zeppelin idea, get the drums pretty big, and it kind of reminded me, not exactly, but kind of had a When the Levee Breaks, a little bit of that feel on the kick drum and the snare, and you're just getting that big sort of Bonham sound, and the cymbals were real in your face. I mean, they were. Which comes from my 90s sensibility with alternative rock and grunge, so that's fun. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. And boy, sometimes, one of the things that I learned as a young engineer and young producer is be thoughtful, but don't overthink everything. So I've in my old age here, I've decided that, I go on instinct. I think carefully, but once I've made a decision, I'm committed and I don't worry about it. So it was kind of risky in some places to use so much room, but I think it worked. I think it made it work. And it was again, my good friend Charlie Hoskins. He the first thing he sent me was the drum beat and just the A major. Well, it's not really major or minor because the power chords, there's no third. But anyway, he just sent me that bum 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 bum, and I said, boy, I can do something. But I wanted to stay true to that initial raw vibe. And then when you think about the lyrics, "Born to Be Your Toy," I mean, the song is gritty. It's about raw, edgy emotions and being manipulated and being miserable with being too taken in to get out of the relationship. And as a young man, I certainly had that experience at least once. But I thank you so much as a fellow guitar player that you like the guitar means a lot. I appreciate it.
Well, welcome. And one thing I must add, because you were talking about your relationship with the Pogues, and this song, it's something like in between Pogues and Hooker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah, I could totally see. I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense. And with Charlie's relationship to the Pogues and stuff like that totally makes sense. I hadn't thought about it, but you're right, absolutely.
Well said, well said. Joey, you have to check out Peter's band, Fourth Sun South. Absolutely wonderful as well.
Fantastic, I will.
Promotion South Africa, Peter. He's going to be doing a lot with our radio station, Peter is. So you're going to hear a lot of that rugged voice of Peter.
I love it. He's got a great presence, I must say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before Rich comes in, can my mum say something? Kat, would you like to say something to Joey? She won't have much question. Kat? No, sorry, let's continue with Rich. Because she unmuted herself, I thought she was going to say something. Maybe she is and she's nervous. Rich, what was your thoughts again on that one, brother?
Well, Sparky, firstly, I'm super glad you showed us both versions of the video. Because Joey, what I absolutely loved, I loved watching the recorded version and the live version, because to me, there's a testament to the ability of the performers to take the recorded version like you had and be still being true to it, and yet adding a flair that's resonant of what's happening in the room at the moment.
You're right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, you blew into that live performance right off the top. I'm hearing like wah wah overdriven Jeff Healey, thinking, wow, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. And your vocals are gritting it to the, to a Johnny Winter, almost Muddy Waters growl, which wasn't there in the recorded version. It's hinted at, but not there. But my guess is the room was just so much that you crank your Marshall, get the wah wah go. That's what the room probably told you.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, the live shows are really like crank it up, everything up to 11, because we want to give you a good time. I want to give you every ounce of my energy and my spirit and my personality and just hit you in the face. And so, and you're right. The people were so excited and everybody's having such a good time. And all my jokes were landing well. And so people were laughing, having a good time. And, so you're right. We were really cranked. That was about middle way through the set, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so, but I do live. I do a lot with the wah. In the studio, I'm not quite as tied to it, but live, it's just a real part of how I express, because when I play a solo, I have no idea what's getting ready to happen. I really don't. I just play. I'm inspired at that moment. So one of the kind of interesting things is that if you see me Monday night and see me Tuesday night, we're playing mostly the same songs, but it will be a different show, and we respond to what's happening organically, and so that happens. So I like that in the studio. I like to be very precise, not clinical, but very precise and thoughtful. But live, I kind of like to just leave it all on the stage and just let it go, and you just never know. And the band, I have little cues, and this is why I like being the band leader, because as a blind person, it's hard for me to take visual cues. Obviously, well, actually, it's impossible for me to take visual cues from somebody else. So if I'm the band leader, I have a couple little signals that I make that are most of the time are fairly subtle. And they know, hey, I've decided to go an extra 10 bars on the solo or whatever, it just depends on how I'm feeling. Maybe it's going to be one time through the progression. Maybe I'll do it 10. If I'm having a good time, the crowd's liking it, maybe I'll take the solo a little bit longer. So we do very much feed, you're very perceptive to see that we do very much feed on what's the vibe of the audience. And there is a real exchange of, for lack of a better word, energy between the audience and the performer. And you just kind of learn to read that.
Well, that's a testament to you guys, Joey, because it's a sign of it, because lesser performers, they use the recorded version as a crutch almost, and they're afraid to digress from it, because a true live performer will digress from the recorded version and give you something more. That's what makes the live performance special. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm really curious about your recording process, because you hinted that you're very methodical. Do you sometimes work out your solos ahead of time, or sometimes you just jam them on when you're recording?
On all my, I'm trying to think. By and large, I pretty much just rip it one take and I'm done. And it is what it is. On occasion, if there's like a lot of harmony parts that I want to add to the solo, I might be a little more clinical and go, if I do this, then I'm not going to do that. So I'm always thinking a couple moves ahead. So I can probably count on one hand the number of solos that were pre-arranged. They're not, mostly what happens is I hear the melody in my head that I want, and my hands execute that, because I've worked a long time to make that possible. So I mean, that's most of it. I mean, occasionally I can think of one song right now off my first record called The Fire of Youth, which kind of sounds like Boston, I guess, a little bit. And the solo on that was pretty orchestrated, because there were a lot of these little harmonies that sort of dropped in and out. And to make that work really well, without spending 1,000 hours in the studio, you need to go, well, I can harmonize a sixth with this or whatever. So that, but yeah, mostly I just rip it and hope for the best.
No, I relate to that. Sorry, Joe, I cut you off. You're about to say something when I asked you that question.
Oh no, I don't remember. I don't remember what it was now, but I know what I was saying. Yeah, so I mean, what our shows, I really believe in what you said. Like I don't want to hear a giant stereo system where you're playing the record. To me, that kind of live performance has little value. I want to organically experience you taking me somewhere the record hasn't taken me already. And so that's why I think my live shows are very much about improvisation and reading the moment. I mean, there's structure, obviously, but the studio stuff is, I don't like to play any more than I need to in the studio. I think generally speaking, this is, no rule is always, but generally speaking, I like the studio stuff to be short and sweet and not a whole bunch of messing around. And then in a live performance, I like to feel free to do whatever I want, which is why I have really not done a whole lot of, with a trio, we try to make as much noise as we can. Because just to be honest with you, I do that for monetary reasons. Like carrying an 8-piece band around is just, it's so expensive and hard to do. So the trio is really what makes financial sense and allows me to do what I need to do. But that's why I rarely have anyone in the band sing backup vocals, because I like to be able to improvise my melody line as well, and just go, if I'm feeling like I want to sing a high note here, I'll just sing a high. So if I've got backing vocals that come in at certain spots, I'm not able to do that because I have to think about what they're singing and where I'll clash. So sometimes we have backing vocals on songs that really need it, but most of the time I just leave it free form so I can just do whatever I feel like doing.
Well, it's interesting, Roy. You know, they're very different beasts. I'm sure you agree. Live
Big time.
and studio are completely different beasts.
They are very different indeed. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We've got Marion in the Netherlands next. Marion?
Yeah, well, I love the how do you say that, the live version, the groove, and I also got the Jeff Haley feeling. So yeah, and of course the lyrics are awesome. I mean, the toxic relationship, the addictive stuff. I mean, you also could have it on cigarettes or something like.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a relationship with a woman, but
Yeah.
the way you're making it and the feel you're giving is like the addiction. So
You're right.
yeah,
That's the whole point. You're
really
addicted to it.
takes you in.
Yeah, you're addicted to it, and you know it's bad for you, and you're doing it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So you're the marionette. You're the so it could. I mean, in this sense, it's a woman, and of course, I understand the codependency and those. But it's great lyrics. That's just what I want to say. I mean, yeah. But as listener, yeah, you get addicted. Like
Yeah.
okay, but it's the groove. The groove is just pulling you in.
Yeah.
So I really love it. I really love that song. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad you had the groove because that was the first thing that was established when we wrote the song. Was just that boom, boom. Was the thing that Charlie sent me. I was like, oh, I can do something with that.
Yeah, it's like almost like "We Will Rock You" thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Very sounds like an anthem.
That I mean,
Yeah, got that anthem feel. Yeah.
Yes.
Just wait till you see the next video, Marion. That's all I can say, honestly. Wait till you see Blind Man Driving video. You're going to absolutely fall head over heel in love with Joey. So we've still got Mark Story in London, Steve Andrews in Portugal, then Tim Consley in Indiana. So
got it.
Mr. Story, Mr. Redbeard, what's your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, that was a masterstroke, that Mark, that you played both the tracks there. It was like getting an extra Christmas present, really, because the live version was right up my street. I mean, it's a power trio. You're making more noise than some bands with massive lineups. It's crashing out, and then you get the studio version, which is you get the little bells and whistles on it. That's your little kind of like your trimmings. And what I liked about it is that I do like my blues and my rhythm and blues to be dirty, down and dirty.
Yeah.
And after listening to that, I need a shower. I feel like I've been.
That may be the best compliment I've ever got.
I feel like I've been violated in a really good way.
Well said, Mark.
Okay, that's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
I mean, basically what everyone else said, I totally embellish. I 100% agree with everything everyone said. I think it's fantastic, the versatility in your voice. It blew me away when you started singing that. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? It's like the last track I heard was nice, smooth vocals.
It was clean.
A bit of edge.
Yeah.
Clean, yeah. But this one was like, wow, this is a man of many voices,
I appreciate that. One of most of my heroes in blues, you'll appreciate a lot of them are African American. And the other greatest compliment, your compliment's going up at the top of my list right there with the shower. That's amazing. But the other one that I think would tie it is that a lady came up to my wife, and she was a very large black lady, and she said, "Child, does your husband know he's not black?" She's like, and my wife said, "No, don't tell him." So I like that.
Can I ask
compliment of the evening
sure.
so far?
Yeah,
Mr. Story.
Go ahead. Ask me anything.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I mean, it's probably a bit of not an easy question, but who are your main influences on the blues front?
Oh, that's hard. Well, so I live in Macon, Georgia, and
I have a friend in Macon, Georgia.
No way.
Yeah, a guy called Larry Jackson.
Cool. I don't know off the top of my head, but
get them on a show together. We get them on a show together with Joey and see if they stay in the same city.
Yeah. Well, listen. Yeah, and I'll tell you. So we, it sounds like you know this already, Mark. But of course, Otis Redding and Little Richard are from here. and Johnny Jenkins. And so I'm very steeped in the Southern blues. And so one of my, big influences, comes from that arena. But I have to say, I love passion, so I mean, you can't sing the blues in my mind or sing any kind of, intense music without thinking of Aretha Franklin. And I'm not comparing myself to her in any way, but I just think that vibe that she puts across more than her note choices and stuff like that. But I love Tad Benoit. Of course, Jeff Healey is a blind guitar player that did a lot of blues. Really, the only blind guitar player that people know of. So I love that. There's just, and of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan. You gotta love that. There's, I mean, I could list like 100 names, but yeah, my influences are so broad and so varied, and you don't necessarily hear them in what I play, but they're behind the scenes in the DNA of it. More of my influences affect me more as in like sort of the spiritual side of the music and hearing that honesty in what they play.
Yeah.
More so than the note choices, I'd say. But Joe Bonamassa is like just a beast. I mean, one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Of course, Eric Clapton. Jimmy Page, is a blues enthusiast, even though he sort of did more hard rock. But I mean, all those guys are a huge part of it.
Thank you. Yeah,
that was a question.
Sorry,
What's that?
Wait, sorry, brief. I find your music really inspiring because I play this kind of stuff myself over here in the UK, and I listen to that, and that's inspired me to, that's great. It's the biggest compliment I can pay you is inspirational. Thank you.
That means more to me than you can know.
Joey, Mark's in London, so if you do come to London in a month's time, I've already said to Mark to try and help you when you're here as well. So
I was going to mention that too. There's like the percentage is like 85% that I'm coming. So we'll chat again. And maybe we can do a show together, man.
Hey, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll speak about that. Great question, Mark. Great answer, Joe. Steve Andrews in Portugal, for the red beard to the green beard. Hey,
yes,
Steve.
Mr. Greenbeard.
Joey, first of all, the live version, it had me kind of rocking along. I couldn't resist, it was, it grabbed me. And I was also thinking like ZZ Top. It had that feel to it. And I'm a person who, if I'm at a live gig and there's a band on, I often find myself dancing. And that's, you had it. So you'd have had me down the front there.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's important.
And I wanted to say as well, something that Marianne picked up on was about addiction. I was thinking of Robert Palmer, Addicted to Love. That was the song that came to mind. And, well, that was it. That's what I wanted to say. So, yeah, fantastic song.
Thank you, my friend. And I love Robert Palmer. Who can not love that? Yeah, that's just good. It's good stuff.
You have to check out Steve Andrews' music as well, Joey. Steve's.
I follow him on Twitter. He's one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter. Yeah, I know Steve's music. Yeah.
He's amazing, and he's trying to help the world. He's trying to do his part to like preserve nature and preserve wildlife, and take plastic out the oceans. Yeah, very special man.
I agree.
Mr. Tim Consley, the last compliment of this second round, then we've got the Blind Man Driving song with he's seen us. Tim Consley.
Yeah, referring to your video with the three-piece band, unless you have done it, playing with a three-piece band, skill. I mean, I know that because my live gigs were just me, a drummer, and a bassist.
Yeah.
And, I have to tell them, especially when I go do guitar solos, you're going to have to pick up some of the sound.
Yes.
And you're really going to have to play, and you're really going to have to broaden the sound spectrum of what you're doing.
You're right. That's absolutely true.
And of course, my drummer's like, well, I figured it's your solo, and I need to pull back. And I'm like, no, don't pull back.
Yeah, this isn't a
Go
jazz
on.
gig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we wanted to go big. We want it to sound big.
That's right. Go big or go home. That's what I always tell them. Like,
That's right. And of course, on the recordings, I play everything. So
yeah,
that's not a big deal.
Right.
And also, I wanted to say that what really impressed me about that song was the bass.
yeah.
I'm just a big fan of 5-string bass.
Me too.
And just that deep down low that bass had in that song. And that's what I use in my songs as a 5-string.
Me too.
And I just thought it was that really added to the drums, your guitar, but that low thump from that
Yes.
bass, that was just awesome. It was an awesome song all the way around, both versions.
I appreciate that. Well, that's what we think about that kind of stuff. We think about what is the bottom end doing. There's two ways of experiencing music. You can experience it sort of like a physical experience, and then you can have a more intellectual experience. So the melody, all that stuff, the lyrics, those are more processed intellectually, but you need to feel the beat. And the bottom end is a major part of accomplishing that. And for sort of an anthemic sort of song like that has that big drum beat in your face, you really got to think about the bottom end. I mean, it's groove wise, that's the most important thing going on in that piece, and it needs to be something that you're reacting to viscerally, and that you're feeling, and that's a big part. So we thought about it. We need to play low, and it's interesting because my bass player doesn't have a 5-string bass. And I told him, I said, man, you're gonna have to use mine because we gotta have it. We gotta have it. So, you only get about 4 extra notes, but it's important.
Oh, it is. It is. It totally lends or takes away from the sound, whether you have it or not.
Yeah, and one of the challenges that we have when we tour is we try to play venues that have their own PA system, and even sometimes if there are multiple bands on a show, we it's best if they have their own backline, their own drum set, their own bass. So sometimes it's hard to get the sound you need and want for those songs when you're playing a different place every night. And sometimes they want you to bring your equipment, sometimes they won't let you, and all this kind of stuff. So we try to really work with our pedal boards to make sure we're able to bring the kind of sounds we need no matter what amp they give us. And in that particular live version, just for example, those were Black Star amps, which they're okay, but they're on the low end. Whereas I have about 25 different amps, but and I use them all for different things in the studio. But my amps are very expensive boutique tube amps, and so we try to make sure that we have all the stuff we need so we can sound reasonably close to what we need every night. So that's a challenge as well. But yeah, having that 5-string bass is a big part of making that work.
Yeah, when I go out and play, I have to use my amp because it's a modeling amp, and I've got every preset set up for every different song. And
and and as a blind man, using a pedal board is tricky for me. To sing and play all at the same time and then try to hit the pedals right. So we spend a lot of time in preparation getting that pedal board arranged so I don't screw up. We've modified more than one pedal, I'll just say that.
Joey
Stuckey. The song's great.
Thank you, my friend.
Joey Stuckey, Tim Consley, you need to have serious chats about doing something as well. Joey.
Absolutely, my friend.
There's many people in the family helping a lot. Tim is my basic right-hand man in the family, and he's actually getting the title of global director soon because he's working every day, and he's really going to be a massive part of this. So Tim and Joey need to do something. I would love it. In fact, Tim's starting his own podcast show in November, so you have to go on as one of these guests. And
anytime, I'm at your service.
Joey, let's get down to your last track of the evening, Blind Man Drive, and explain a little bit about that before I blow everyone's mind with the best video you'll probably ever see in a long time. Joey.
Well, I love you for saying that. I as far as I know, it's the best video because I can imagine. You can't prove me wrong because I can't see anything anyway. It's, one of the things that's super important to me is to make sure people understand that blind is not a dirty word. And I love people I love kindness. I love respect. And I think all those things are very, very important. And I believe in that. I believe in dignity. I believe in equity. But I also believe in reason and measure. And I don't think that we should be afraid of every single word that comes out of our mouth hurting somebody's feelings. So I'm always careful to love people and respect them and meet them where they need to be. But just for me personally, like, some people are just afraid, like, oh, are you visually impaired? Are you blind? You know, how do I address it? And my position is, you know, if it's not a brain tumor, it's not really a problem, right? I mean, that's just kind of my philosophy. And I don't want people worrying about the exact word they use, because I'm smart enough to know if they mean it in a positive way or a negative way. And as a blind person, I have been discriminated against. This is something that I have experienced, especially when I was younger and in school. I've experienced some bullying and some discrimination. But, you know, most people, or at least the people I choose to surround myself with, are kind, loving, amazing people. So one of the things I want to do is just let everybody know that it's okay to say the word blind, and it's okay to have a sense of humor about it. Do I recommend being blind? I do not. Is it something that I would prefer not to have to deal with? Absolutely. Are there times that are very frustrating and difficult not to be able to see? You better believe it. But I choose to live my life in a joyful way and focus on solutions and not problems. And so Blind Man Driving video is very much about that. It's supposed to be silly, it's supposed to be funny, and it's supposed to let people feel a little more comfortable in talking about, you know, blindness or any challenge for that matter. Yeah. So that's the reason that it's so silly. And then the hook of the song, I think, is just really funny. You know, the song is "Love It." The hook is "Love It used like a blind man driving," which we all can, I think, agree is a terrible idea. So you know, I have done it when I was in my 20s. Well, we could talk about that on another show. But anyway, it was a terrible idea, and we are all fortunate that it did not end in tears. I drove for about 5 miles, and then we were all like, you know, we should stop while nobody's dead. So we did. But anyway, yeah, it's a fun tune. And what you'll see here is my big live band. Now this is we're all playing in the video. We're playing, and you'll hear the music is recorded in the studio, so it's not a live recording. But we are actually playing to it. And if you look at my fingers on the guitar solo, I mean, I'm absolutely playing the guitar solo like note for note, and it's, you know, we're all playing it. And this is my live band. These are the guys that were in the studio, you know, making all the noise. So I got a full horn section and all this fun stuff. But we did have a policeman come out and play with us, and I basically hijack a car because I need to get to a gig, and my ride's like, I can't make it. And then I'm like, what do you mean? What am I gonna do? So I hijack a car, and you can hear me mutter in the background when I hijack the car, "Women drivers," which of course is stupid for a blind person to say, because I don't know anything about driving. How do I know? So it's just me being silly. But I hope you enjoyed it. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh, they'll absolutely love it, Joey. And you know, you should try stand-up comedian one day as well, because you're a very.
I do it. It's all part of the show. I do it in the show.
Oh, honestly,
I just open my mouth and hope for the best.
All right, no, you're brilliant. Honestly, wait till you see this. That's all I can say. Joey Stuckey, Blind Man Driving. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. One love.
What do you mean you can't come? I'm blind. How am I going to get there? You know what? Forget it. I'll figure it out. Fine. Stop! It's an emergency. I need your car.
What?
I need your car.
For what?
It doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
Jeez. Women drivers. Everything I have done, I felt like such a fool. Every place I have gone just brings me back to you. My horizons, I can just reach out and touch. Oh, when I hold you in my arms, I just can't get enough. things to say. I mumble all my words. Oh, I love you more than ever. I hope that's what you heard. Like the river in the sun, burning in the sky. Just no point in wondering, no point in wondering why. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still gonna try. Oh, but loving you, yeah, it's like a blind man driving. Yeah, 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 yeah. A blind man driving. Things to say, I mumble all my words. I love you more than ever. I hope that's what you heard. Like the river in the sun, burning in the sky. No point in wondering, no point in wondering why. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still gonna try. Loving you, I feel, oh, like a blind man falling. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, is this love for real? Don't make me take the wheel, baby. Is this love for real? Oh, no, no, no. Don't make me take the wheel now. Oh, I can't see where this is going. No. Like Ray Charles,
Absolutely. World class, Joey.
It was so much fun.
Rich, please help Joey in the process. Get entered into America's Got Talent because he'll win it. There you go. That's my honest opinion. If you entered all the different things you could do in each round, Joey, with your singing, your guitar, your keys, everything, you could win it. You could win it. Let's start in reverse again. Tim and then Steve. Tim Consley.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joey, I could close my eyes and swear that was Bonamassa.
Oh, listen, I love you for saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the vibe of the song, the guitar playing, just the horn section, everything about that, even the style of the song, all of that, man, that was Bonamassa material. It really was. And I love Joe Bonamassa myself.
Me too.
And blues rock, that's my genre. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not as good as Joe, but
well, who is?
Right.
I mean, he's definitely the king, man. He's so
definitely
good.
is.
Yeah.
But man, that was so great. I loved it. To me, the video was great. I thought the video was hilarious, but based on the song itself, man, that was just top notch. That's all I got to say. It's top notch.
I appreciate that. I really want people to hear it. We've had about, I think, close to 7,000 views of that video, which is pretty good, but I would love more people to see it. I mean, I think it is a good tune, and I appreciate that. And I think it's a fun tune. Again, the idea that, it's okay to make light of life's troubles, I think is an important concept I want to really get out there too.
Right.
Dude, honestly, you're world class, and by the time you're finished, you're going to be like the way people look up to Stevie Wonder and stuff. People are going to look up to you in that same manner, Joey. And it's such an honor to have you as a friend, man. I love you to bits. Steve
Thank you, my
Andrews,
friend. I love you
Portugal.
too.
Cheers, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Steve.
First of all, I'm just going to echo what Mark was saying, that I think you would definitely, America's Got Talent. Yeah, I go for it. I've been on Britain's Got Talent. America's Got Talent for you. I think, yay. And what I wanted to say about the song was the video, amazing. And I found myself rocking along with the audience. It was like clips of the audience moving to the beat. And I was doing that as well. And like I said with the other song, if I was there live, I would be down the front dancing. With that one, I'd have been down the front with that audience moving to your song there. And the other thing I wanted to say was that I was hearing Van Morrison. For me, that was really like a Van Morrison. I could almost heard Van doing that song. And I know, okay, there was the saxophone section. Maybe that added to my idea, but it had the feel. It had the feel of like a Van Morrison. And Van's one of my heroes.
Me too. You're very perceptive, Steve, because the fact of the matter is I'm a huge Van Morrison fan, and a couple of we cover 3 of his tunes in our live set, and depending on how long the show is, obviously. But we do. I have a really weird. I say weird. A different arrangement of Domino that is super popular and just funky, and it goes real well. And then I also do Moon Dance, which is another classic tune. I typically do the Moon Dance in I have a jazz band that I run as well, because I play jazz and bebop and all that kind of stuff, and so that's a different side of me that is more for corporate gigs. But anyway, I love him, and to hear any reflections of Van is that's great, because he is absolutely one of the coolest, vibiest vocalists out there. Just such a cool vibe. I just love it. So thank you for that, and look at you with the detective work, figuring out all these influences I have.
Awesome. I mean, Joey's got a full block, and the size of his studio is humongous. So if ever there was ever going to be a massive project in the family, Joey would probably be the best place to host it for everybody. So
hey, if you're in the family, I would give you a discount. So you can talk.
Everyone here's a VIP that's talking to you now, dude. Everyone here, VIP members.
Well, I believe in helping each other, and I mean that very sincerely. And it's really, I think, collaboration and playing with each other and doing all these things and helping each other I'm all about it. That's how I like to live my life. So I'm all about it.
Well, if you are coming to London, I'll let everybody that's in the family for London know, and we'll try and do something special for you amongst the other things you've already got planned.
Yeah.
Mark, story next, Mr. Redbeard. What was your thoughts on that one, brother?
Well, what can I say? I mean, this isn't so much like a podcast or a review. It's become a gig to me. I'm getting the hairs on my arms are standing up, and I'm kind of trying to keep my eyes on the video while I'm bopping my head about. I totally agree with Tim Consley about the Joe Bonamassa thing. Also a little bit of Leslie West, I think.
Sure.
Love Leslie West. Mate, I mean, you're on Spotify. I'm following you on Spotify now. It's like Christmas has come all at once, really. I love your stuff. I think you're a great guy. I'm really pleased I met you, and I'm looking forward to listening to more and more, discovering more of your music.
I appreciate that, my friend. It's something, I forget who said this. We were talking about improvised solos versus more logical solos. That solo in the studio was not planned out. It was improvised. But then when we did the video, I was like, oh crap, I gotta learn this now. So I had to go back and learn the thing. And of course, now that I've done that, I pretty much play it. I don't play it verbatim, but I play it to probably 70% of what's there. But it is interesting. People were talking. A lot of the great compliments I had today is the versatility that I have, and that means a lot to me. And that solo was more thoughtful than it was about a band. So I can be very thoughtful and melodically sound, or I can just have this wild abandon that's a little bit more physical and melodic gymnastics. But I adore hearing from all you guys that are guitar players out there. It's exciting, and I know you're one, and I think that's great. So thank you for and the fact that if you're bopping along, and boy, I mean that's the best compliment you can ever get is people are rocking to your music. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, I'm primarily a vocalist,
Right.
but I've sort of brought my guitar playing up to speed. But
Yeah.
I know what you mean when you're shooting a video, you've got to remember what solo you played.
Yeah. What did I do? Well, because then if it doesn't match the sound, it's going to take
Yeah.
people out of the moment. That's the thing that I preach in my classes. Like, do everything you can to just keep from distracting people from being in the moment with you. And so, I had to relearn that solo. so people go, hey, his fingers are in the wrong place.
That's a great song and a great video. I'm really
Thank you, my
impressed.
friend.
Thank you.
Well
Cheers.
said, well said. Joey, you must have extra special sense of touch. Am I correct in guessing that?
Well, I have something I want to say that's naughty, but I won't. But yes, I have a number of, when one sense is gone, so I can't see or smell, right? So that's two down. So I do have very keen sense of touch, and I have a very light touch, as well. So I mean, I don't have to feel. I feel things very gently, because when I'm in a room trying to figure out where I am, I don't want to knock stuff over. But on the guitar, interestingly, my touch is a little more aggressive. And when people say, how do you get that tone? I mean, a lot of the tone comes from your hands and how you play the guitar. And I'm fairly aggressive with the guitar. I mean, I can be gentle if I need to, but with blues, rock, and stuff like that, I feel like I want to commit to the note. I want to play it. I'm not trying to play super hard, like, banging the guitar around, but I want to commit to that note and commit to that sound. And that really gets the tone that I want. So I think about all those silly things. But yeah, my hearing is, I don't think that my hands or my ears are physiologically better than a sighted person. But what I do think is that I know how to process tactile and auditory information at a much more efficient, just much more efficiently, because that's what I've got to use so I can function. So I've learned to process that sound very efficiently. The way I tell my students when they want to know, naturally, they're curious about how do you do what you do and not be able to see, because they all come from a discipline where they can look at the meters and all this kind of stuff, and they can read sheet music and all that kind of stuff. So one thing is I have a great memory. That's my blessing. But the other thing is, the way I explain it to my students is, if you've got an iPhone or a smartphone, let's say, since Apple's not paying us any money, if you've got a smartphone and you have 10 or 15 apps open on it, your phone's going to lose power quickly and it's going to be slower. If you've just got one or two apps open, your phone is processing more efficiently. And that's how it is with my sense of hearing and my sense of touch. Eyesight is a very powerful sense, and the other senses tend to kind of take a bit of a background, because eyesight really informs how most people experience the world. Yeah. So in this instance, that's not there. And again, I'm not saying not being able to see is a good thing, but I think that I use what I've got very efficiently. So I do think there is something to, having, when they say one sense goes, the other senses get sharper. I mean, there's I don't know, I think there's truth to that, but I think the important distinction is, it's not that they're physiologically different in some way. It's just that the information is processed, more efficiently, because they're the more dominant sense as opposed to the sight. So anyway, long diatribe on that. But.
You're a very, very inspirational man. Marion in the Netherlands and Peter in South Africa. 4 more compliments you've got, Joey, and then that's
that song, it really stands out, and I really loved the video. It was funny, and yeah. I loved your guitar playing. I mean, I wish I could play like that. I mean, I'm a fairly good rhythm player, but I mean, yeah, so it's awesome to see you play like that. And yeah, I just love it.
Well, anytime you need a lead guitar player, call me. I'll be there. And I promise not to drive your car.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't drive a car either, so I mean, yeah, but it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well, I mean, listen, I'll tell you, that's the one thing, like, driverless cars. I'm so about driverless cars. Like, then, I can go where I want to go, and if I want to get a cheeseburger at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can hop in the car and go. It's not that I really want to. It's not that I really want to. Yeah, it's not that I really want to get a cheeseburger at 4 in the morning, but I want to have the option. But thanks for your compliment. I appreciate it.
Not to be dependent on anyone else.
I like to be as independent as is reasonably possible. Yeah, I try to be reasonably independent. There are things I don't do because it's a bad idea. But when I can, man, I always try to do it myself. But my sweet wife is my partner in all things, and she is so amazing and just brilliant, and one of the smartest people I know. and helps me do a
So
lot of
lucky
stuff.
to have that.
Well, I am so blessed. And one day on another podcast or when we get to meet in person, I'll tell you the story of how we met. It's pretty entertaining. But anyway, I won't bore you with it today.
I love that. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Peter, then Rich, and then Kurt. Peter, South Africa.
Well, see where I'm going. I loved that video. It was funny. The song, I really think the brass section, the horns and the Hammond, they give that that feel to the song. But your guitar tone is very nice, very nice. I love that.
I appreciate that so much, and I try to customize the tone for every song, so it's a little, it's whatever the song needs. But boy, I love a B3 organ, and I'm so glad you mentioned that because it's just such a cool tool to layer in. It helps hold things together, and it's one of my favorite go-to keyboards. And I don't have a real B3, so that was a VST plugin, but it was a really expensive one, and I know how to EQ it and layer it in so it sounds pretty like the real deal.
It sounded the part.
Yeah, exactly. It did what it needed to do. In the new studio, where I do have an actual baby grand piano in my current studio, but in the new studio, we're going to invest in a Hammond B3, and they're about to get one that's in good shape and kind of vintage, which is really what you want in my opinion. They're 15 grand depending on what you do, and so. Right now,
yeah, but then you want the rotary speaker as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta have that lesson. You gotta have that stuff. I can't imagine the bands like Steppenwolf that used to tour with those things. Man, are you kidding me? I would never lug those things around. They are awful. Heck, just a regular keyboard's a pain in the butt when you're on tour. We toured with about a 5-piece band. Had a big tour we did back in 2005. And it was murder in the airports. It was just, oh my gosh, it was awful. But anyway, yeah, I love that B3. And I'm so glad you noticed it. And the horns are so cool. I love playing with the horn section. And as I say, I don't do it much anymore because it's just not, it takes up a lot of space. And then a lot of places don't want to pay to accommodate having those extra guys. But boy, when I can afford them and get them in, it's so much fun.
No, absolutely. When I grow up, one day I will have a brass section.
Absolutely. I listen, that's my dream too. I really wanted to do a whole series of shows with a big band, 20, 30 pieces, but that may not ever happen, but it's a dream.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Chambers, Vancouver. What's your thoughts here, dude?
Well, Peter stole some of my thunder because I absolutely love. I heard Spencer Davis Hammond B3 all over the place, and I thought that was just wonderful. I loved it. But you know what else I really love, Joey, about the arrangement? Man, that reminded me of a tight Blues Brother band arrangement because that was an A1 band, the Blues Brothers band. Holy crap!
They were awesome.
Those guys, wow! And that's the sort of arrangement you had with the horn section, all that. It was beautifully arranged.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's what the Spencer Davis thing hit me, and then all of a sudden I had, hey, that's the Blues Brother band. It's way better than singing than John Belushi you are.
I appreciate that.
But I loved what you did. Absolutely loved the guitar line that you had going. Was you were talking to yourself on the guitar. You would sing a line, the guitar would talk back. You had a little bit of subtle wah to put in vocal reverbs and vibrations. You're using that wah pedal to sound that, give it that little vocal tone to vocal feel to your guitar playing. And was that conscious? Because to me, it sounds like you're literally set up a song where your guitar talks, you talk, guitar talks, and you guys are going back and forth. Was that?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, that was very intentional to have those spaces where the guitar could come out because one of the things is, I mean, I think of myself as a singer, I think of myself as a guitar player, and I've done all. I mean, I've played with big, I've been like a sideman for big orchestras as a vocalist, and have been all these different things. But when people think of me, they usually think of the vocal and the guitar. So I feel like for my music, it's important to make sure that relationship is tangible because that's part of the brand. And so I don't overthink it per se, but when I find an opportunity to make sure that that's very clear that I do both of those things and that they're both part of who I am, I take that opportunity.
No, Joey's great. I love the song. I love the singing was great, but I really wanted to comment on how masterfully arranged that song was. Like beautifully arranged. Good job.
Thank you. That's the old brain power from too many years in music school.
Well, that struck me as you hit the balance of that formal education that I'm very meticulous, along with I also love to just rip it on the guitar. You sort of brought those two worlds together in that song. That's how I saw it.
Well, you are a prince among men, because that is exactly my goal. That is my goal, is to bring those two things together, and to to have the intellect and the spirit at the same time, and because they're very different. I mean, they're really different sides of your brain.
Of course.
And so I mean, and that's why I love that's why I love the job that I have as a producer and a sound engineer, because the whole my whole life is beautifully suited to do what I do, because my whole search in life is about balance, and that is, I think that's really what we all should strive for, emotionally, mentally, physically, all these things, and the music is just a reflection of that desire. So I am all about finding balance and compromise, and letting different aspects of your person take on different challenges. So I can be very thoughtful and sort of introspective, but mostly, I'm this other sort of big presence that just wants to love on everybody and just say silly things. So the first part of my day, I take my bath and stuff like that. First 45 minutes a day, when I take all my medicine, get ready. Those are my deep thinking times. The rest of the day, I'm just up to 11, just cranking, just going where I gotta go. So. But thank you. That means a lot.
Good job, Joey.
I'm so glad you recognize it. Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Kurt in Tennessee, and that's been a wonderful show. Kurt, what's your thoughts here, dude?
It was great to see and hear more instruments, than the previous song. I dug the keys and the horn section. That was awesome. And, it was catchy. It was, I'm always mentioning catchy, and it's because I'm picky about catchiness.
You gotta be.
And it was another great catchy song and a great rock jam. Lyrically, it was a great analogy. I like that. So I got one question. So the footage of the people at the concert, was that concert staged for the video, or was that taken from a real concert?
It was both. People were invited to come to be part of the video, but we did it at a club, and so we basically played that. We only played that song, and we played it about, I don't know, maybe 10 times or so, because the guy that shot it only had one camera, I think, if I remember correctly. So he had to reposition and shoot again from several different angles. So we played that same song, like 10 times in a row live. And then then after we were done, everybody had to sign waivers to be in the video, because I'm just that, I'm that guy. I like everything. I like to have everything planned out in great detail. And the reason for that is because as a brain tumor survivor, man, I like to have plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. So if the first plan fails, I've got backup plans. So I'm always super meticulous and very clear about what I expect and what I'm giving and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, my point is that, we then had sort of a party afterwards to thank people for putting up with hearing the same song for like 10 times in a row. We had a little bit of a party, and we had some food for people and signed autographs and took pictures and all that kind of stuff. And, it takes a massive amount of setup time just to get ready for that video, but it was a real crowd. It was actually, by and large, mostly people we did not know. We just put it out in the community that we're going to shoot a music video. Come on out if you want to be in it. And so it was mostly people we didn't know, and it was on stage, and we were actually hooked up and playing. So the music track was running in our monitors, right? The actual recording was running on our monitors, and we were playing to that recording, but the sound that was out in the house was actually the band live. I'm sure there was some bleed from the monitors, but that's basically what it was. So we tried to make as much of a real show as we could.
That's a cool way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that made the most sense. And because, again, in a real concert situation, you don't want to pause. You're going to have to play the song more than once to get the shots you need. And here I'm a blind man talking about video, but to get the shots you need and all that kind of stuff, you've got to have multiple cameras and all these. If you only have one camera, then you have to do multiple takes all the way through, so that he can get the sax guys all the way through. He can get the drummer all the way through. All these different things. So we thought it'd be better to make it more fun and less stressful for us to have to do a whole show plus think about the video.
Yeah, when you do multiple cameras, I used to work in TV. When you do multiple cameras, you've got to direct all those people and make all those decisions and make all those cuts back and forth, at the same time. It's complicated.
Well, the videographer just said, "Hey, I'm going to use one camera. I'm comfortable with that. I know I can get what I want." I was like, "Okay, far be it from me to tell you how to do video." I know just enough about video to be annoying. You know what I mean? I know just enough to kind of talk the language a little bit. But yeah, we used to do. I did a TV show on a local NBC station here in town, and it was all about music. And we'd feature one artist, 2 songs, and they play during the morning show about 8 a.m. They play one song in the interview, and then you go online and see the second song, as part of it. And we had 2 cameras, but even then, when you have lighting issues and all this stuff, so there's just so much that goes into it. And you're right, if you're got multiple cameras set up, in this instance, we were lucky that we had 2 cameramen that could do that and a director. But man, it's multiple cameras mean more people. It's just too many moving parts.
You absolutely nailed it. It was one of the best videos and performances and soundtrack I've ever seen, Joey. It's absolutely world class, dude.
Thank you, my friend.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about now, Joey? Or it's been a marvelous pleasure to be in your company. I'm sure everybody will agree. No one wants to leave here, Joey might be coming to London in a month's time. Joey's got a new podcast coming. There's lots of stuff happening with Joey Stuckey. If you're not already connected with him, reach out to Joey, or Joey's wife will try and find you, but reach out to Joey, everybody. And it's been a pleasure. Joey, if there's anything else you'd like to say now before we go unlive.
I'll just say thanks for everybody for their time. I know everybody's busy and we all have things that we have to do. So it means a lot that you took the time to visit with me today. And I appreciate all the thoughtful comments. Everybody here is so thoughtful and so intelligent and so gifted in music. It's clear to hear that in the conversation, because we're all speaking the same language, which the language of music and production, is not well understood oftentimes. So it's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to spend time with good folks and good company. And again, I'm at your service to help out. Mark can always reach me, but if for some reason you want to get a hold of me, Joey@joeystuckey.com is an easy way to do that. And I'm all about following everybody on social media. So if you send me your social media links, I will follow you and just follow me back, and we can all help each other that way. So I'm glad to help and participate. And I know that our paths are going to cross again soon. And like I said, I'm 85% sure I'll be in London soon. So you'll be hearing more. Those of you in London will certainly be hearing more from me soon, because I'm going to be hitting you up to say, where can I play?
Joey Stuckey, it's an absolute pleasure, dude. We love you to bits, man. And
love you, my friend.
Thank you for coming on the show. And me and you's got a partnership with this podcast coming.
Yeah.
I'll write an article explaining to everyone and let people really see. But yeah, Joey Stuckey, everybody. One love, eh?
Thanks, my friend.
We'll say goodbye to Facebook. And then, I'm going to ask everyone to unmute, and we can end this one with a round of applause, right? Maybe if I can do that. I'll go to the participants here.
You can experience.
1, 2, 3. Joey Stuckey, everybody. Yeah, legend. Fantastic. One love.
Thank you, everybody.